What's up, Headless Horde? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking Game of Thrones and what season finale had the best final scene heading into the next season. So I'm going to be joined today by Lily of Fire, and we're going to both be breaking this thing down and let you know our opinion on what finale we think was the best one, and we're going to rank them from last to first. Let us know down in the comments which you think is the best finale as far as final scene. First, I'm going to give you a quick recap of all 8 final scenes, and then we'll get right into the video. After coming off of one of the most shocking television moments of all time with the beheading of Eddard Stark, the final episode and scene shows us finally the emergence of Daenerys Targaryen as she emerges from Khal Drogo's funeral pyre unburnt with 3 newly hatched dragons perched upon her. Now, this teaser shows us the birth of the dragons, and it signals a new era of magic and power, setting Daenerys on her path to reclaim the Iron Throne. At the end of season 2, we see the biggest battle over at Blackwater Bay in King's Landing that we have seen in the show thus far. This really shows the true person that Joffrey Baratheon is, and that Tyrion Lannister is fully capable of running an army and a kingdom. Now, in the final scene, after Jon Snow heads off to the far north with the wildlings, we see Samwell as he looks on and witnesses an enormous army of White Walkers and Whites marching south near the Fist of the First Men. This is the first time we get a huge shot of what is to come, and now we know what winter is coming truly means. This teases the growing threat of the White Walkers and how it becomes more urgent, expanding the story beyond the political struggles in Westeros. Now, when you think that Game of Thrones could not be more unpredictable, we get the finale of season 3. Now, right after the Red Wedding, that we see Robb and his fiance and Catelyn Stark all perish by the hands of the Lannisters and Walder Frey. We get the finale of season 3, finishes once again with Daenerys as she's hailed as Misa, which means mother, by the freed slaves of Yunkai who surround her in celebration. Now, the tease here heading into the 4th season is Daenerys' role as a liberator is growing, but her struggle to balance power and idealism begins. At the end of season 4, we get what's probably considered one of the best episodes in episode 9 with the battle at Castle Black. The final scene, we see Arya Stark sailing to Braavos after killing the Hound, or at least thinking that the Hound was dead, and clutching the coin given to her by Jaqen H'ghar. This now teases Arya's journey into the world of the Faceless Men, and knowing that her training as an assassin will soon begin. As we motor on through season 5, we now realize how important that Jon Snow has become. So the final scene, when we see that he's betrayed by his brothers of the Night's Watch and stabbed to death in the snow, it's unbelievable because it feels like his fate is completely uncertain. Now, right after this episode had aired, a lot of people did not believe that he was going to be truly dead. This teased the mystery of Jon's possible resurrection and the deepening tensions at the wall after what had happened. Now, season 6 begins with the resurrection of Jon Snow at the end of the first episode. So this was the first season where there was no true literature to go with what we see on screen. Now, some people say they don't like season 6. I tend to disagree, and I think season 6 is one of the best written seasons. And it concludes with another huge battle, the Battle of the Bastards. The final scene of season 6, we see Daenerys sail for Westeros with her fleet, dragons, and allies, including the Greyjoys, Dothraki, and the Unsullied. This is after she has now freed slaves in 4 different cities, and now she has gained the allies needed to take back the Iron Throne. So this was a really, really exciting scene because we finally get to see Dany start sailing toward Westeros, the dragons in the air, and this really did tease the long-awaited confrontation between Dany and all the rulers of Westeros. Now, where season 6 had succeeded in continuing the storyline, culminating with the amazing Battle of the Bastards, season 7 was announced to be a shorter season and only 7 episodes. But I'll tell you what, season 7 was one of the most action-packed seasons there were. And although, yes, it does speed along a little bit quicker than the previous 6, at this point in the story, there's really not much more for our characters to do or grow. We need to kind of come to the conclusion of what we have been headed toward for the past 6 seasons. Toward the end of the season, Dany loses Viserion to the Night King. This will lead into the final scene where we see the Night King using an undead Viserion to destroy the wall at Eastwatch, allowing the army of the dead to invade the 7 kingdoms. This leads us into season 8, the final season. Now, it was announced along with season 7 that this season was also going to be shortened to 6 episodes. We see the culmination of the battle at Winterfell with the Night King and the White Walkers as Arya Stark jumps out of nowhere and stabs the Night King. We continue to go through the season, losing a lot of the main characters until finally we get to the final scene where Bran Stark is crowned king of the 6 kingdoms. It's only 6 kingdoms now because the North finally secedes and becomes an independent realm under Sansa Stark. During the Great Council, when the lords and ladies of Westeros select Bran as king, Sansa makes it clear that the North has suffered too much and must remain free. We then see Arya Stark sailing west of Westeros, knowing that no one has ever traveled that direction, and she wants to be the first one. And finally, Jon returns to the Night's Watch and then heads out to the north to live out his days as a wildling, finally taking Ghost and actually petting him too. And the only final tease that we get at the end of the series is that it left the fates of the Stark family open-ended, focusing on their individual journeys moving forward. All right, so we are going to go in reverse order. We're going from our least favorite finale to our favorites. So Lily, why don't you kick us off and let us know what is your least favorite finale scene?
I think it's super obvious, and if anybody disagrees, I don't know what show you are watching, but obviously it's season 8.
I agree 100%. Season 8 is terrible. The way it ended was terrible. The whole season was terrible.
Yes.
And you can't see anything in the Battle of Winterfell versus the Night King, even if you turn your brightness up. Yeah, I agree. It's horrible. It's a bad ending, and I think everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Let's go to our second least favorite. I'll start us off this time. You know, this one I was a little torn on because I love the season so much, but the end of season 4 for me is my second least favorite because I think part of it is knowing that I know where Arya's story is going, and I think that the House of Black and White is one of the worst stories in all of the entire series. So her being on a boat to Braavos, looking at a coin, doesn't really do it for me. So that's why I put that one there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because I hated that storyline as well. But my number 7 would be season 2. And I hated most of season 2.
Okay.
I know you don't totally agree with that,
No.
but just the White Walkers marching on at the end, it just didn't do it for me. So, meh.
All right. All right. Number 6 on the list is going to be, again, I'm torn on this one because I remember watching it and I was like, yeah, let's go. But after you see all of them, I have to go with season 3 on this one. The Misa. Again,
Mhm.
you're kind of excited, you're pumped a little bit. You just got done with the Red Wedding, and this is kind of where they are. She's saving all the slaves, and so you just know she's coming. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, I did not think it was one of the better ones.
Okay. We're pretty close on things, but my next one is the end of season 4 for the same reasons you said.
Okay, yeah. All right, number 5 is going to be season 6, which it still shocks me because again, this is another Dany scene where we see her now coming to Westeros, and you see the dragons have grown. I love it, but again, you have to make a rankings, and it's right in the middle for me. So that is my that's my fifth. That is my 5th favorite. So my
Okay.
4th least favorite.
I keep following you. So my 5th least favorite is season 3 with the Misa. And I think it's because it didn't feel like that was a good episode. And I even loved that part, but maybe it didn't feel like the end of a season. Like it wasn't the strongest end of a season.
Because season 3 was Red Wedding, and we got that. Like I wanted to know what was going to come more with that part of it, and they didn't really do
Yeah.
that. So we are now on our top 4. So coming in 4th place is, for me, it's season 2, and the reason why is I was really intrigued with this Wildings because I don't think we really got the gist of it. At least I didn't. I remember season 2 for me was probably the most confusing season to watch after season 1 because I thought season 1 was basically, here's the characters, this is the journey. They all kind of spread out, and then all of a sudden, season 2 begins with Stannis and Melisandre, and I'm like, wait, who are these people? And
Yeah.
by the end of season 2, I love the Battle of Blackwater Bay, and I love the fact that we finally got to see a ton of these White Walkers that we've been kind of hearing about, and we saw very, very early on in season 1. And now here they are. You got poor Samwell all by himself, basically, just kind of staring at him. So I thought it was a pretty epic ending, personally.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it might have been just because I disliked season 2 so much, and I know that's not supposed to weigh into it, but
Yeah.
my number 4 is season 6.
Okay.
And so that was my favorite season. So much happened there with blowing up the Sept of Baelor and Battle of the Bastards. And it was such a good season. And then ending with Dany and just coming this way was just like, meh, you know what I mean? It kind of went down a little bit from all of that action.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you still have it in your top 4. So I mean, it can't be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Number
So
3.
my number 3, this is hard, is season 5. Spoiler. When John is dead. It's number 3 because I gasped. I wanted to stop watching the show. That obviously made a huge impact. But it also made me super mad. Like I hated it, but it is such a good ending too to a season.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely one of the better cliffhangers, I think. So for me, for my number 3 is going to be season 7, and this is when Viserion turns into the Ice Dragon and he takes down Eastwatch, the huge wall. That was awesome. I mean, now we know why season 7 only had 7 episodes, is because they had so much with these dragons. I mean, the dragons were in almost every episode, and that's probably why, because they ran out of the budget money, But yeah, I think that's a really, really fantastic scene. So I loved it, and I couldn't wait for season 8. But then we know what happened. All right, my second favorite is the one you just mentioned was season 5, and this is when Jon Snow is betrayed by the Night Watch and he gets murdered. And you know, that was the season that I first watched live. Like the first 4 seasons I had to catch up on because I didn't start the show right away because I didn't really know anything about it. And so this is my first season I watched live, not really knowing what happened in the books, not really knowing, you know, where we were headed with his character. And when he died, I was like, no way. I'm like, there's no way they're killing this dude off. You know, and I kept thinking, okay, so Melisandre's there. So I kept thinking in the back of my head that something might happen with Jon because I'm like, dude, how are you killing off basically at this point? Because they made such a big deal with this character, basically from seasons 3 on. You know, I always looked at him and Dany from seasons 3 on basically is like the main characters of the show, especially after Robb gets killed, you know. So for me, that is that's my number 2.
I get it. I wanted to quit after that.
Yep.
All right. My number 2 is actually season 1.
Okay.
I have a feeling you like that one. And it's great when she emerges from the fire and she has her dragons with her. It's iconic. It makes everybody fall in love with her, I think. Absolutely. And it's awesome, but I just have one that I liked better.
All right. So go ahead and finish it off then. So what is your number 1 favorite season finale?
For me, it's season 7. I know not everybody loves season 7. I loved all of season 7. And when the ice dragon is awakened and then is flying and crushing the wall, it's amazing. And I told you before that I didn't want to watch Game of Thrones because of the dragons and stuff like that. And they absolutely became my favorite part of the show. And so that's my number 1.
All right. And my number 1 is obviously season 1. And I just, you know, when I think of Game of Thrones, I think of Dany standing there with that profile view and she's got the dragons on her shoulders. It's just, I think that's the most iconic. Like you could pretty much probably show that picture to anybody, even if they watch the show or not. And I feel like they could tell you what show that is. And that's that to me. When I was watching that, especially after what happens in episode 9 with one of my favorite characters, Ned, you know, at least we got that in the final episode. So like, you know, kind of redeemed a little bit of it. Cause I'm like, okay, now we got some dragons. Let's go. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, Lily, thank you for joining me in this little video. Guys, let us know down in the comments, what is your favorite finale? If you want to, type me in all of your favorites in order from least to favorites. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to keep those heads on, and I'll see you guys in the next video.